Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. I'm a retired New York City police detective with 20 plus years of law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you will get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when he's here, when we do go live or upload another video. Tonight, we are going to be talking with a special guest about the Harmony Montgomery case. The authorities were in the background, in the backyard of the Gilford Street home in Manchester, New Hampshire, all weekend long. It started Saturday. It went straight through till today. It looks like they've wrapped it up from some of my sources that I looked at. But we are all just chomping at the bit because we want answers. What happened to Harmony Montgomery? Who has her? Who did what to her? We want the answers. And I get it. But I want to, before I go into the small piece that I want to play for you, it's an example of my guest that's coming on, former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. And she's going to kill me because I think I just brutalized her last name. I think I got it right, but I was a little bit off on it. But she is a retired special agent from the FBI. She's going to be joining us tonight to chime in and give us her take on the Harmony Montgomery. But first, I want to say thank you to Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all of the moderators, the replay viewers, and everyone live chatting here tonight. There's so many of you guys in on this chat. Ed Wallace has backed out of tonight because he was traveling to Kansas City and he was not set up in his hotel. So he couldn't come live with us because he wasn't set up. His room wasn't ready. So that's the unfortunate part. Let me just play this quick piece for you guys so you can get a setup of what we're going to be talking about tonight. This is from a couple of days ago, but I want everybody to see and get a look at who our next special guest is. So here we go. Without further ado, let me just play this. Usually Josh is here to do this, but I'm doing it myself.
Agent and has been following Harmony's disappearance along with so many of us, and she is joining us live tonight. Jennifer, this uncle, Kevin, is the brother of Adam Montgomery, who has now been arrested, is in custody. He had interactions with Harmony, and we heard just bits and pieces there. You're privy to some of what he said he witnessed. What can you share?
Yes, again, just tragic what this young girl endured, specifically talking about her toothbrush, using it to not only clean the bathroom, which is bad enough, but actually the toilet, being made to stand for hours in a corner until she would actually relieve herself on herself. To listen to these descriptions were terrible, but when he talked about the actual physical abuse, he described that as the worst, and that was beatings as well as striking of the face. He actually equated her to a mistreated dog.
It's heartbreaking. And look at this beautiful child at the center of all of it, Jennifer. It's hard to wrap your mind around anybody, a child nonetheless, being treated this way. It makes your heart sink. I want to go through these charges. Okay, so felony second-degree assault for Adam Montgomery. Interference with custody and endangering the welfare of a child, misdemeanor. Also, endangering welfare of a child and interference with custody, both of those charges are misdemeanors. Something stood out to me, Jennifer, in the news release that the Attorney General put out earlier today along with police, and it says this: the charges and allegations against Mr. Montgomery are merely accusations, and he is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. So as an investigator, based on what you know about this case, help us read between the lines here. Did that stand out to you as well, and what do we make of it?
Yeah, so I'm going to stop it there because I wanted to just set this up so you could see Jennifer, you could see what she's done. She speaks with Prime Newsnation. She speaks with WFLA. We've seen her on the Gabby Petito case. We've seen her speak also about the Summer Wells case. She's chimed in on a lot of these cases. There, if you look at her Twitter, you can see so much how much of the good work that she's doing in her retirement. So without further ado, I want to introduce my special guest. She is a retired FBI special agent. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining tonight. I appreciate you taking out the time.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me, Ron.
You know, Jen, that piece I wanted to play because as law enforcement professionals, even though everybody thinks, well, FBI, special agent, retired NYPD detective, you've seen it all. But when we look at a case like this, we look at this 5-year-old girl at the time in 2019, and now 2 years later, 7 years old, there's that, we never have to do that catch up like that. It's usually we get a case, it's a fresh missing person or missing child, and we work the case. This one is just something kind of special because I don't think I've ever in my 30 years total in law enforcement have been taxed with something like this. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and some of the obstacles that these investigators have?
Yeah, I concur with you. It is very rare for this situation to happen. This little girl that was missing, and I call it the missing that are never reported missing. And It's starting to happen more and more, Ron, that I've seen. But specifically with this case, she was really failed. She was failed by her family members, and she was failed by the different systems that had at least at some point received reports. Neighbors, not noticing she was gone. It really, I think, highlights that we need to be more vigilant just as a community. How does someone go missing for 2 years?
And Jen, you say it real well because on my previous videos, I think I produced about 5 videos on this since it broke. I was right away out loud about it. Our young and our elderly, we need to look after them. Those are the most vulnerable population, and this is our future. Mm-hmm. So for having the systems that are in place, they call it DCYF up there in New Hampshire. I'm used to, Child Protective Services over here in New York. And we look at these failed practices, and I say to myself over and over again, I talk to my audience, we have 500 people here in the audience is building. When will there be change? When will a politician or somebody step up, or whoever the powers that be, to change these things? And now we have, fast forward here, searching in the backyard. I wanted to speak to you quickly about your thoughts on this. We saw FBI agents walking out from the Gilford Street location. Right away, I actually got happy when I saw that. I said, listen, this is a smaller police department. They're not used to these type of cases. Granted, it is busy in Manchester. It's a busy spot. Just some of the thoughts on the resources that are available. And I talk about the FBI all the time, the lab down in Quantico, the crime scene labs, the different resources that are available. How does that help in a case like this? Just talk to the audience just a little bit about what type of resources gets thrown at this.
It's really amazing the different experts that the FBI has. We have blood splatter experts, we have gambling experts, we have evidence experts, and that's what you're seeing out there is the evidence response team, and they are considered really the industry standard. They train nonstop. They get called in on everything from when the space shuttle blew up, walking those fields, finding body parts, pieces of the shuttle, obviously the Trade Center disaster, just incident after incident, large and small, they go in. And there is no one better to not only find the evidence, but what I think is more important, and Ron, you may agree with me on this, it's fine to find it, but you better have the proper chain of custody. You better have handled it correctly because it has to stand up in court. And in this case, in my belief, this is going to be the crux of their case. If they did indeed find evidence there, this is going to be the crux. So it better be admissible in a court of law.
Absolutely. And what we're talking about here is the whole operation. Okay. It is just such an important thing to secure the evidence, to do it the right way, to not have any type of missteps or mistakes where a criminal defense attorney will jump on. And that's why when I see the professional agencies from the state, local, and federal level on these cases, it makes me happy. And some people, some of our true crime sleuths, they'll say, oh, well, the FBI sometimes screws up cases, the state screws up cases. We're human beings. So there is a margin of error. But when you are looking at trying to bring somebody to justice or people to justice for anything that could have nefariously happened to Harmony Montgomery, these folks are fathers, these are mothers, these are aunts, uncles. They're not cyborgs. The law enforcement community, we heard the chief. We heard the crackle in his voice. That's a tough thing to have happen when you're conducting a press conference. But it's human nature. And I want everybody to understand that the folks like Jen and myself and all of the tens of thousands of law enforcement professionals that are out there, they have families too. They're human beings. They're breathing, living people, and they care. They care about getting justice, bringing justice forward. And that's what this is about. This is about finding out what happened to Harmony, not anything different. And listen, folks in the chat, everyone's sending in accolades for law enforcement. We greatly appreciate it. Yesterday was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. I received hundreds, arguably maybe close to 1,000 emails from you guys, and I thank you for that. And I know, Jen, you feel the same way. Your brothers and sisters that go out there, we put our lives on the line on a daily basis, but it's all for justice, to bring justice. I wanted to talk to you quickly about the outside agency, the outside private company that they used here to kind of thaw the ground out. Ed Wallace, my co-host, who couldn't make it here tonight, he's a crime scene expert with the NYPD. He was in the crime scene unit, talks about blood spatter, so talks about all of the different forms of evidence collection. We saw them digging all day today. We saw them moving, and I have some video that I'll play of that now. Just with the FBI side, what type of resources would they lend when it comes to going on the anthropology side? Because, of course, if they're digging up a backyard, they're not going to be looking for a fresh set of remains. We're talking about 2 years old. Do they employ forensic anthropologists at the FBI, or would this be something local that they would call out?
So this is something that specifically the evidence response team trained in this type of recovery is going to go and do. Not specifically a forensic anthropologist. That would be later, of course, for the identification of if, in fact, they did find any remains. That would be for them to handle. But the FBI is very good, and other law enforcement agencies are too. But again, the ERT, they are excellent at this just because of all their instances that they get to go and do this. So conducting the grid searches and specifically properly packaging and making sure, again, that the chain is followed correctly and that exactly who found it, that is tagged. Because as you know, Ron, when you're in court, it can't be the secondary person that found it. It has to be the person that found it. And so they'll call over the main evidence tech who will go over and identify found there in the ground. And they have to be so careful in excavating this evidence. As you may know, there's an actual farm, if you will, where this type of practice goes on for the evidence control team. And they go out there and practice excavating bones before they're ever allowed in the field to conduct a search like this.
Right, Jen. We had Dr. Murray Marks and my co-host, Ed Wallace. Right. Dr. Murray Marks, he runs the body farm down in Knoxville, in Tennessee. We had a whole special about what you just spoke about, and I'm glad that you brought it up because it just shows the audience the how well versed you are in evidence collection. That week-long training that goes on once a year down in Tennessee is just outstanding because it helps when we see all of the emergency response units and the teams here from the various different agencies. We don't know if those are state or federal partners there, but we have a tremendous response because this is a huge undertaking, and to excavate and go through that soil has to be done meticulously so you can preserve the evidence, and you're not, intermixing if there was, any type of animal remains back there or human remains. We don't know what they came up with, and we hope and pray that there's an answer sooner than later in this case. But Dr. Murray Marks, he was instrumental in giving us an education on how this process goes. And Ed Wallace, who was the first NYPD detective to go through the body farm course with a group of FBI agents. So it was an interesting conversation that we had. So you see these two tents here. One is going to be for evidence collection. The other one is going to be for where they're doing their work. So this is this is not an operation that is something that they rush through. It takes a great deal of time, and it has to be done the right way. I wanted to talk to you quickly while I take this off the screen, Jen. We saw the interview with the great uncle, Kevin. Mm-hmm. Again, he was reluctant to answer questions, and there could be an argument to say that maybe he was briefed by law enforcement, hey, keep your mouth shut, don't really, don't talk about specific things, or maybe he was just not willing to speak to Banfield. And when I watched that interview, for me, it was just more disturbing that we had a flurry of activity about Harmony Montgomery in 2019, but we sort of seen it fizzle off in the years to follow, 2020 and 2021. Now, all of the docs haven't been released, but public records, and I did my investigative research, I came up with several records, but the records weren't consistent throughout the full 2020 and 2021. We saw 2 Christmases go by. We saw 2 birthdays go by. We saw 2 Easters go by. The biological mom, talked about having an Easter basket in 2019, and then 2020 and 2021, not really that much. Any thoughts on the dynamic and the lack thereof of shouting from the rooftops, if you will?
Well, I think it speaks to the fact that they knew she was missing. The fact that you don't notice your daughter is not around for 2 Christmases, aunts and uncles, she's just disappeared, and they knew that. And I think that that's why they're able to build a case, Ron, because I think these relatives are going to start coming forward. And it's going to be that kind of a case, a testimonial case, in conjunction with what is found here and the corroborative evidence that they're also going to collect, that's going to make this case.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. And, when both the father was taken into custody, Adam, and then it seemed like it was either the next day or the day after, I think it was the very next day, Kayla was taken into custody. Now, that is the wife of Adam Montgomery, the biological dad. Once I saw those 2 taken into custody, I kind of was jumping for joy, because that's a investigator's dream, to get 2 of the potential principals or witnesses, if you will. I'm trying to go light here. So 2 witnesses in custody, where they could separately interview and interrogate them. That's when you have the most success. And I feel that what led them, and this is my opinion only, what led them to a research at that backyard, the search over the weekend, was either interview results from Kayla or Adam. And my investigative sense says Kayla was more breakable than Adam was. He's a hardened criminal, and I think that he's going to kind of stick to his guns, but that's just my thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on what led them to the backyard? And I mean, that's the primary pretense of this live stream. But what is your thoughts, or what your feeling is? I know we're going on speculation here, but as a seasoned investigator, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I concur with you, Ron. I think Kayla broke. I think it's very interesting that her bond hearing has been reopened, and that the prosecution team is not going to deny her to receive some sort of reduced bond. So for me, this confirms, if you will, my belief that, and the belief of many, that Kayla provided information that led to the probable cause to go out there again and conduct a search. I would guess this has also been done with a sealed search warrant, Ron, and affidavit supporting a sealed search warrant. They're not just going to go on a tenant giving consent for this one. And I think there's very specific information that they received from Kayla.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, Jen, because I was just about to actually, and we didn't even talk about this before we went live, but this is just two law enforcement professionals bouncing ideas off of each other. That was going to be my very next thing. There are many people. I have a huge police and crime chat group where I have thousands of people in it. And the chat today, and I love to go in there and see what people are chatting about. They were talking about exactly what you just mentioned and what I was going to bring up. A lot of people feel that, well, they went to the house, they were friendly, the new occupants, the renters, or whatever the case may be, and they just gave them the blessing. Yeah, come on into my yard and search through it. That's not how great investigators think, because when it comes to going to court for prosecution, the defense is going to always question, how did you get permission to get in that yard? And in the best interest of Harmony Montgomery and justice, you need to go and dot your I's, cross your T's, get your search warrants, get the judge to authorize you to go in there and excavate property. They're not only in the backyard, they're going through that home as well, because as we know, you can paint walls, and if there is blood on the walls, it will come through. There's a process that you could use. So there's tons of other investigatory steps that are being taken in this case that are happening behind the scenes that nobody's going to know about. They're not going to talk about it. They're not going to bring it up at a press conference. I want to play just a quick clip, if you don't mind, Jen, from today. This is from a Boston 10 affiliate. Just want to play this little clip. It's only 2 minutes, but I want the folks to see what people were chatting about today. Where is it? Okay, here comes my first technical
glitch.
I'm gonna add it.
I always say they need to make this stuff agent proof.
I got it. Have faith in me. I got it. Yeah. All right, here we go. Just gave me a quick little hiccup.
Back up today in Manchester, investigators searching a home on Gilford Street. Police say they were focusing on the house because, quote, it was the last location where Harmony was known to reside before her disappearance in 2019. New tonight, friends and family of the missing girl gathering tonight for a candlelit vigil, hoping for any answers as to how Harmony vanished and that she's found. NBC 10's Michael Rosenfield is there. And Michael, what can you tell us?
Christy, we do have a couple of new headlines in this case right now. Yes, there was a search that took place today here in Manchester at the home where Harmony once lived. We'll have more on that in just a moment. The other big headline right now is that her mother, Crystal Sorey, made her first public appearance and first public comments today since this case first broke. About 8 days ago, Crystal was here at this park in Manchester with family and friends. They lit candles and said prayers. They're reminding people that Harmony is still missing. Investigators have said nobody's seen the child for over 2 years. Her mom, who lost legal custody back in 2018, says she was blocked from contact by her ex-husband. She tried searching for Harmony on her own, and she did ask the Department of Children, Youth, and Families here in New Hampshire for help multiple times. Here's her message for Harmony.
Hi, baby. If you can see me or you can hear me, I want you to know that I never stopped looking for you, and I won't stop fighting until I find you, okay? And you stay strong, and Mommy's right here fighting for you. I love you. I don't feel like she's gone. I just don't feel that in my heart. Like I don't feel like I lost her. You know, and a mother knows. A mother knows if her baby's here or not. So I know she's here.
So again, there was a search that also took place today here in Manchester over at the home where Harmony used to live with her father. This is the second search of that property this week. It's unclear what exactly brought investigators back to that home today. They have not said if they have found anything at this point. The mom, Crystal, telling us today, just like police, she is reminding everyone that they really do need some tips that could lead to Harmony's whereabouts. The reward money at this point is up to over $90,000.
All right, I did want to play that just because I know it's a day old, Jen. I wanted to put that up there because I wanted some folks to get a feel for the biological mom. She made a plea, baby, mommy's here for you. Again, live chatters, I'd love to know what you think in the live chat. What's your feelings in a respectful way, if I might add. What's your feeling on the biological mom? Jen, did you get anything out of that? The plea that she made?
Yes, I did. Her past obviously is a past of addiction. And in 2018, her parental rights, she gave up those rights to Harmony,
Right.
and the father took custody of her due to her addiction. And certainly she seems to be not using at this time, at least from that clip and other clips I've seen. What I was troubled by, though, Ron, and I know you have seen this, is a plea she made to the mayor very late in the game regarding Harmony being gone. And in that plea, she does talk about suing and all of this. I'm a little troubled by that. I know she hadn't seen her daughter at all since April of 2019, which was on a Facebook, is my understanding, or a FaceTime, sorry, for Easter. So I know she's coming in now. I know she is sober, and maybe that's what's inciting this. But I'm reserved in my comments at the moment.
Yeah, and I feel the same way because it's very hard to completely judge somebody not knowing them. But I want to show quickly this is public record. This is the actual email that was sent to the mayor we now know by the biological mom. I want to try to make this full screen, so it's going to take us both off, but we're still here. You could still hear me. I'm going to make this just a tad bit bigger so people can see this. All right, so this is dated December 29th, 2021 at 2:41 p.m., and it's to the mayor through their website. And its subject says, "My daughter is missing / in danger, and DCYF won't help." And it goes on to say, "Hello, Mayor. I'm a single mom of 3. I currently only have 2 of my kids. My oldest daughter, Harmony, she's 7 years old. Her father, Adam Montgomery, has physical custody of her, and he is currently homeless and under the influence." DCY, again, I question, how does she know he's under the influence, that when all communication was broken off from her? But I'm not going to break this down and analyze this. DCYF has had an open case for my daughter and didn't remove her when they witnessed her bruises, and the house at the time had no running water. Now it's a year later, and DCYF has done nothing. Jen, this is, going right along the lines of what you observed from her. Nothing to help find my daughter. She's supposed to be in the 1st grade. He never enrolled her into school this whole time. She misses important doctor's appointments she's had since a baby due to her disability in her eye. Please, I'm begging for help in finding my daughter before she ends up like that little boy that just passed away due to negligent neglect through the department. My next step is going to the media and to get whatever help I need to find and bring her home safe. My number is, and that's redacted. Please help. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays." Now, again, when I looked at this and read this, for me, it just, again, the questions as an investigator is, why last Christmas didn't you write a letter like this? Why are you now, December 29th, 2021, just a few short weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, you're writing that letter? And the question has to come out is, what happened in 2020? I know we had COVID-19, but in the Northeast. It was under control. It was not like what we have right now. So it's just baffling to me that we would see a letter like this and the claims that she made loosely in there. Again, if you're aware that the father of your child is on drugs and is homeless and has your daughter, wouldn't you be screaming from the rooftops? I keep making that comment because I know me as a parent, my wife took my kids off from me and I knew she was homeless and a drug addict. I wouldn't just lay low. And that's what it appears. And I could be a little off with that assessment, but for me, it just doesn't match up. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it definitely gives me pause, giving her the benefit of the doubt due to the fact that she's sober now, and maybe during those years she was under the influence. My understanding is the drug of choice was opiates for both of these, heroin, both of these parents. But in any event, like I said, I have to be guarded. But I did want to touch base, Ron, about her plea to DCYF, because I do find this quite troubling. And I know you saw it throughout your career. I saw it throughout my career at every step, because most of the people that I've ever arrested had children or had cases have children. And to me, the trouble with this system is the system itself, not necessarily those caseworkers in any way. I think they do the best they can with having 100 caseloads, with being underfunded, with being overworked on cases that are as tragic as this, where you just almost become numb, as
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's got to change. They need to have more money, more resources, more people. And until that changes, we're going to continue to see the Harmony Montgomerys fall through the cracks. That's my opinion.
Jen, and that's 100% on point. I've been speaking about this openly. We spend billions of dollars helping our allies, our partners outside of the country, right? We just recently pulled out of Afghanistan and left millions and actually arguably billions of dollars worth of our equipment behind. Okay, we helped restructure the region there. We spent hundreds of billions of dollars. If you can spend hundreds of billions of dollars outside of the country, why not take it for our most vulnerable, our children and our senior community? Why not revamp the system that's in place to protect them? Because we know as law enforcement professionals, we know that system has failed. Pump in $100 million or $100 billion or whatever the number is. I'm just throwing out ridiculous numbers, but pump that fundage into making sure that this doesn't happen again, or having a better chance of keeping the caseload. Hire hundreds of thousands of new DCYF workers. Get the money in there so the caseloads per investigator, they're not covering 100 cases for one investigator. I mean, I know when I was in the warrant squad and fugitive apprehension, I had 150 cases. One from one guy. It was overwhelming for me, because if one of my cases over the weekend when I was RDO, that's the regular day off, if I was off and one of my cases committed a robbery or one of the 7 majors and God forbid killed somebody, the chief would be calling me into his office and say, "Hey, Detective Licardi, what the fuck happened here?" Excuse my language, but that's what I should have bleeped that. Goddamn.
I need a bleep button for you.
Yeah, I would be in the chief's office having to answer questions. These folks don't seem to have to answer to questions, at least that we see in the public. I'm sure that the New Hampshire authorities, the Manchester Police Department, the chief talked about. Let me just take this off because this is the response from the mayor. I'll get to that in a second. The Manchester police chief said that we want to try to hold everybody accountable and look at all the casework. Okay. That was a good statement. But then I listened to the governor of the state say our system is stronger than it's ever been. And I have that piece. I mean, I could play it, but most of the folks, there's over 1,000 people here watching us live, Jen. I played it just 2 nights ago. And the director of DCYF, he went on to say, I came in here 4 years ago and the system is tip top. It's operating on all 4 cylinders. And I said to myself, how, I'm looking for it right now because I want to play that. I said, how can we now as citizens say to ourselves, oh, everything is fine. How is everything fine? You just now had this little girl slip through the cracks. I don't care if there was one phone call made. And we know for a fact that 2, maybe 3 interactions were reported. And you have the neighbors who said that there was grifters and there was people sleeping in cars and cars that looked like they were broken into and generators running in the middle of the summer. It's 80, 90 degrees and you have little kids.
And no water.
Air conditioning, no water, all the utilities shut off. What happened in the wintertime? What happened in the wintertime there, right? Well, again, we have to do better for our children. We have to do better for our children. And, at the end of the day, it's just unbelievable that we have a system that is here. I got it. I found it. I'm going to play this.
Good.
Jen, sit
Well,
back.
I can't wait to hear
Get your
these
coffee,
politics.
sit back and relax. This is going to blow your mind. Let me set it up. I'm going full screen. And this is going to blow your mind.
DCYF case, or is this a Massachusetts DCYF case, or is this a Massachusetts DCF case?
This is the director.
Or whatever they're called.
Can't answer that one.
DCYF Director Joe Ripsom says when he came on board 4 years ago, New Hampshire's child protective system was in crisis. But now, caseloads for social workers are dramatically lower, and cutting-edge family support programs are in place. The governor agrees.
No, the system is not in disarray. We have terrific people that run DCYF. We brought in a whole new team just a few years ago, revamped our systems, revamped our quality assurance. No, the system is not in disarray. We have terrific people that run DCYF. We brought in a whole new team just a few years ago, revamped our systems, revamped our quality assurance and control process. And they work very hard at all these cases all across the state.
A source close to the child tells News 9 investigates that Harmony was reunited with her father, Adam Montgomery, after time in foster care in Massachusetts. DCYF says in general, once reunification happens, contact with the family is reduced gradually. Caseworkers have to focus on the active investigations. There are about 12,000 a year in the state.
It's difficult to account for things that happen when we're not engaged with the family. And I think a lot of what, is really important right now is to try to figure out what has been happening with this young girl for the last few years.
Ripsom says thousands of reports of suspected abuse and neglect come into the agency every year, and the public never sees what action DCYF takes. And he knows that's frustrating. A high-profile case like Harmony Montgomery's does trigger an internal review.
These are very tough cases, to be sure. I don't think they're indicative of a system of failure per se.
You hopeful?
They have to be.
Harmony's mother not only
So that's troubling. That's troubling in itself. I played that 2 nights ago. When I watched it just now, I heard the director actually get his voice started crackling. He actually sounded scared when he was in question. I don't know if you picked up on that, but I definitely
did.
picked up on it. His voice was crackling. He was dry in the mouth, and he knew what he was saying. There's no way you could go on a news report after Harmony Montgomery has been in suspended animation for 2 years, and your agency is taxed with her. They know. He knew that he put Adam Montgomery in charge of Harmony Montgomery, and he knows that that's wrong. And him and the governor. This is what blows my mind, Jen. And now that we're retired, we could speak openly about this.
Right.
I could not have this conversation if I was an active NYPD detective, because I'd be in the chief's office. Again, why are you saying that? You're not supposed to do that. But I'm a civilian now, and that troubles me. When I see that kind of news report, it's a minute and 56 seconds. People on WMUR9, that's not something that's a Newsnation or being put out all over the country. It's not. It's a local station, so most people don't see it. I saw it. I freaked out. When I saw it, I freaked the out.
This is the first time I'm seeing that.
What's your thoughts
And-
on that?
I'm actually appalled. It's so political. It's so politically inspired. He doesn't seem at all interested in correcting the issue. Instead, he wants to make actually not even excuses. He wants to put some sort of cover saying that really everything's okay.
Yeah, he
And
painted
that
the road
is
like it was,
unbelievable.
everything was peachy. It was like
Terrible.
the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. I mean, you at least as the governor of the state should have said, hey, I'm going to look into this and I want to find out what happened. How did we fail this girl? If he would have said that, I would have had an ounce of respect for him. But right now, those two guys, I almost want to write them a strongly worded letter, but I know that they will never even see it. It'll probably just get filtered and thrown into the garbage. It's just despicable, and we need to do better. And doing better does not involve something like this. This is a setback. I would like to, if you don't mind, there's over 1,000 people, just turn to the chat for a couple of questions because we're coming up on the 40-minute mark. And Jen, I know that you said you had extra time tonight, but I don't want to hold you that long. Janet Pirate, thank you for the $15 super chat. And she says, I reported to CPS as an educator. I had a student who I knew was being sexually assaulted by the dad. Thank you for putting S-aid. I don't care. I'm just saying it. I was told we had to basically see it happen. I had better luck with the police. Wow. Send me a message on DutyRon.com. I'd like to hear more about that. And thank you for your support on this channel and the community. Anybody have any questions for Jen and I? I'm just going to look quickly. First, I want to say thank you to some of the people and highlight Sweet One. Thank you so much for being here. Layla, Lauren McKenzie from the UK. Let us know where you're chatting from, city, state, or what country you're speaking to us from. I know Lorna is from the United Kingdom. I know we have some folks here from South Africa tonight. I've already been looking at the chat. Australia is in the house. Thank you so much. Jules is from I believe the UK. Thank you, Jules. So many repeat viewers, Jen. It's just such a great community here on Crime Time with DutyRon. Toronto, Canada, California. Okay, that was not Canada. Toronto, California. Thank you for checking in. We appreciate you. Let me see what we got. Virginia, Tennessee. Everybody's coming from all the different respective states. Just trying to look. Catherine's from the UK. Thank you. From London. Thank you for joining. You guys are great. I mean, listen, we're all in this together, working together with our local law enforcement and supporting the great investigators that always give it their all on these cases. We need the help of the public a lot of times to solve these cases. And you heard the police chief in this case plea with the local community because he knew that the answers lie within that community there. So between Manchester and the communities right on the border in Boston, right outside in Massachusetts, that is such a close area. The borders are right there. I'm going to show you a map in a little bit to give you an idea of how close everything is. Here's Dublin, Ireland, and Australia back to back. River Queen from Dublin, and where is my other gal? There she is. Thank you so much, River Queen. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, so we rely on the public to help solve a lot of these cases. And a lot of people don't realize that, the police chief talked about bad social media and conspiracy theorists. Listen, human nature is human nature, but we can tell you this. Jennifer and I can tell you this. When you get a juicy lead from the public, we love it. I was going to say we don't like it. We love it. When we get a juicy lead from the public, it's just such a great partnership. So if you see something, say something. If you know something, do not stay silent on it. It's imperative because you could be the difference between a case getting solved and a case not getting solved. So I can tell you that I've closed many of my fugitive warrants that I've gone out on tips. People say, I'll go out to a location. I'll leave my card with a bunch of people. Hey, have you seen this guy? Have you seen this girl? And then all of a sudden my phone will light up. Hey, the guy that you were coming for, he's here in the front of the building right now. So those are great things. And that's what the police chief was pleading to the public. Hey, let's do better. We can do better. So look at this. Sweden is checking in. Karina, I won't even try to tackle that last name because I'll get in big trouble. But Karina, thank you so much for watching all the way from Switzerland. It's an honor and a pleasure to have all you guys watching. Again, this is a troubling case because you have the powers that be who are responsible for in some way. I blame right away off the bat, Jen. I go to the biological. The mom and dad are responsible for the child that you gave birth to, first and foremost. Okay. But when you have addiction and you have drugs are in the play, and when you talk about heroin, you talk about any type of opioids, it takes common sense and puts it right down the toilet. It goes down the drain, because the number one priority for those folks are not taking care of little ones. It's taking care of their addiction. And we know this and we see this, me, because I was a local law enforcement, I dealt with the public quite a bit more than what a federal partner would deal with. I was getting these calls for service where a child is being beaten or a child screaming. And I told stories to my audience about so much, there's so much violence towards the elderly and towards the children that I've seen over my career. It's disturbing. But again, the things that are in place to try to protect them, the actual authorities that are in place to try to protect them are failing left and right. And we got to do better. We have to do better. I have another shot. I just wanted to get Brian Entin, because I love this guy. He's a great reporter, investigative reporter. Brian is, I've got him on the phone once, and he's an awesome dude. So let's just take a peek at what he has up for his last tweet. This was 24 minutes ago. Nothing was found during the exhaustive FBI Manchester police search for Harmony Montgomery. I'm going to make that picture big. So he says that nothing was found. This is the answer that we didn't want to have, unfortunately. But some people might just say, I'm glad that they didn't find her. It would just be remains. So maybe there is a chance that she can be found alive. I know that that's a slither of hope that we have, but that's what her mother says police told her this evening. So this is his secondhand information coming from the biological mom. So this is where I kind of pump the brakes a little bit, because if the mom is telling him that, again, we want to believe it, but I won't really go on something until I hear it from the authorities. I think that's the best way for me, but Brian does kind of really vet his stories pretty well. So I gotta say the chances are high that they didn't find anything. So that was it 24 minutes ago. Where do we go?
Ron, you and I talked about this at the beginning. The fact that, there's a possibility they will not find anything. And, where does that leave us?
Yeah.
And the fact that we thought it was credible information. It had to be, to get the search warrant to go in there, or at least they felt it was credible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, look at this work that they're doing. These guys are shoveling dirt. These plainclothes officers, they're shoveling dirt, and they're doing the due diligence. And like the police chief said, we're not going to leave any stone unturned. This is what you have to do to say definitively, we know she's not there.
Ron, I've got a question for you. One of the pictures that I first saw on day one, they came out with what appeared to be evidence bags, paper bags, as opposed to plastic bags. And of course, anytime I see that, I know it has to do with a biological type evidence that you're dealing with.
Correct.
And I find it interesting that nothing was found. I wonder if it's nothing was found or she wasn't found. You never know, right, between what Brian asked and what her reply was, and then what she asked the authorities and what the authorities told her. So I'm with you. I want to hear exactly what the authorities have to say.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for the presser if they have one tomorrow, and then we'll talk about, that. But, Brian, again, he's got a job to do. We know the press does what they have to do, and this is part of their job. So he got that report, and in fashion of a good reporter, he stated his source, and the source was the biological mom. So kudos to Brian for all the great work that he does. He gets on planes and flies all over the country and covers these stories. I do have footage of the FBI. I got to just try to find it. Oh, here it is. So this is this was from Saturday, I believe, or maybe even Hold on a second. Yeah, it was two. It was a male and a female. The male, I think he was the supervisor, was handing it to her, and she put it in the car. I'm just trying to cue it up so we don't have to watch the whole thing.
Great.
Hmm.
While you're
Josh,
doing
you gotta
that,
come back sooner
I
than
want to
later.
give another thumbs up to Brian, who was fortunate enough to work with on my first coverage. He's great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, I can't say enough good about him and what he did with Gabby Petito. The coverage that he put out there was just over the top. And WFLA, JB, I can't say enough good about him. I got him on the phone twice and spoke to him. Great guy. There's just so much stuff that has gone on behind the scenes with news reporting. Okay, here it is. I got it, Jen. See, a good detective doesn't give up. So here's the piece. Let me just play this.
Investigators are back at a home in Manchester, New Hampshire, trying to find 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery. Michael Yoshida has the latest on the search following recent arrests.
Investigators back searching at the Manchester, New Hampshire home where missing 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery was last seen in 2019. Saturday, Manchester police and other law enforcement agencies.
So there it is. I'm going to stop it right there. So there's a male investigator and that's a female in the car. Again, when you have blood, when you have any type of serology or anything that needs to, like you said, needs to go to the lab, you're not putting it in plastic. You're putting it in paper. So I was hoping to get Ed Wallace, which he'll be back tomorrow. Ed will be on with me tomorrow night, and we'll show this bag, and we'll talk about the possibilities. I think that was property that Jen was removed from inside the home, not in the outside. They go on to speak about that a little bit. There was talk about removing sheetrock and paneling from inside the house to get behind the wall. My thing is I would implore I would get a cadaver dog to that location. There was remains behind the wall, but they could have taken a piece of the wall for any type of spatter. So that's what we could be looking at. When I say splatter to Ed Wallace, he gets really pissed off at me. So spatter, that's the proper terminology. I always say splatter because all of my audience, they can relate to that. That's layman's terms. So DutyRon gets his butt kicked every once in a while for bringing that up. But let's just let a little bit more of this play. He hands it off to her.
Agencies could be seen working around the Gilford Street address, at one point even using a drone. The search happening just days after Montgomery's father and stepmother were arrested on charges related to her well-being. Wednesday, Adam Montgomery was charged with second-degree assault.
All right, we're going to stop that there. But Jen, this is, again, a case that is not the norm. This is not the norm of what we would normally see. Again, the police chief talked about being behind the 8 ball 2 years. When you have a perpetrator or perpetrators that have a 2-year buffer, you can talk about potentials of scenarios of moving evidence. And I want to be sensitive here, right? They could have moved evidence that we're looking for, or the actual subject of this, which we're looking at for Harmony Montgomery. They could have moved her numerous times. And that's where the big problem comes in, is we now have to rely on, you talked about in your previous get together with some of the news reporters, talking to the doctors, talking to pharmacy folks, talking to the people. These are creatures of habit. When they go to get their juice or their food or milk, they like to go to the same places. Talk to the grocery clerks, not only in Massachusetts, but back here at the Gilford home. They had to have had a place where they went to. And if these folks were living out of their car, they still had to gas their car up to run the heat and the air conditioning. They had to gas up the generator to use the generator. So go to those local gas stations and question them. And that's why the stuff takes a long time.
Right. And Ron, how about going to where they were actually obtaining their heroin, obtaining their drug of choice, because there are people there that are going to know them, that possibly saw her. And I think they really need to focus on those areas.
Absolutely. I did speak about that on the last live stream. We covered all these bases. I actually put out a video, the top 5 people to question. And on that top 5, I have it right here in front of me. The mailman, UPS, FedEx, Amazon, recycling, garbage, utility people, the neighbors, friends, acquaintances, people they use drugs with, their relatives, the relatives of the druggies, the relatives of the drug dealers, their immediate family, their branches of outside of the family, their friends, convenience store clerks, where do they buy their cigarettes, their beer, etc., groceries, drinks for the kids. And then the 5th one was the gas stations for your car. They're living out of a car, you got to gas it up. And then I went on to give 2 bonus people to check with: pharmacies, CVS, Walgreens, etc., local pharmacies, doctors, office staff, where they bring their children if they get sick. So, the crazy part is that Kayla had 3 children of small, young, 2 young, and then 1 a little bit older. I just don't know what those kids were going through. I mean, they couldn't have been having the best care. And now they're in her mom's custody. That's concerning to me as well. I cringe at that thought because I don't know that woman, and nobody knows what type of. I'm hoping that the DCYF dotted their I's and crossed their T's, knowing what they have in front of them. So I have to assume that woman has a good, okay home to keep those kids in. But again, this is a really a bad situation to be in for everybody that's involved. But first and foremost, Harmony Montgomery. And again, Jen, I can't thank you enough for taking a whole hour out of your evening. Guys in the chat, girls in the chat, I want to just share with you quickly. Jen has her own business. She does a lot of security work, a lot of training. I know I saved it here. Where the hell did it go? Come on.
I saw a funny chat come up. You'll find this interesting. It said, he doesn't want to pay her overtime. My overtime is $0 based on my $0 fee. So I just had to kind of giggle at that.
That's a common thing that I say to some of the people that I have on with me is the overtime factor. So like when I had Dr. Murray Marks on with me, I said to him, Murray, I promised you 45 minutes. And we went beyond that. I said, I know that your hourly rate I couldn't afford. So those are my repeat viewers that
clients and viewers. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah. Her Jen's overtime rate would be through the roof because she's an invaluable asset to any news station or any type of true crime community like this. All right, so I'm going to go full screen with this. Tell our audience what we're looking at. Firearms Beyond International, a training opportunity of a lifetime. What do we got here, Jen?
So we do scenario-based training basically for civilians. We teach marksmanship. We teach what to do if somebody comes in your house. You know, if you are armed, if you aren't armed, we teach both. We teach what to do if somebody attacks you, an open air attack, I call it, or assault. You know, you're opening up your trunk and somebody comes up behind you. Awesome. So we do all sorts of training regarding self-defense and also how to properly handle weapons and how to shoot correctly. And so it's a lot of fun. We have full days. We do it completely based on what people want. So you give us a call and you say, listen, I have 6 I just got this call today. I have 6 family members. I live in Montana and I want to know what a 3-day training session is. So we fly up there and I put together an agenda that they like and we follow that agenda. So it's basically very much based on what people like. I go to people's houses and do the self-defense and just trying to help people.
I was going to ask you, Jen, so you go actually to the locations and they don't come to you?
Correct. Well, both, I should say. Both. I do a lot of training in the Dallas area and a lot of training. I have facilities in the Dallas area and in the Jacksonville, Florida area. But I also go to anybody who wants me to come there and train them up.
I love it, Jen. This is personal protection. A lot of the ladies, I told you predominantly over 90% of my audience is female. This is great for male and female, obviously, but if you are interested in self-defense, firearms and tactics, this is right up Jen's alley. This is what she did for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, right? You were a firearms and tactics instructor for quite some time. I was reading some of your bio, and it's so impressive. I will link her bio and all of her website, this here website, Firearms and Beyond International. If you are interested in attending or doing any of this training, she's going to be available. You guys can send her an email. I will link that in the description of this video. It'll stay up forever. There's some free advertising for you. It was funny when I said to Jen, I want to promote a little bit of your stuff. She said to me, you don't have to. I really, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for Harmony. So I really respect that. And I love that that was a conversation off camera. I had to bring that up because it just is a testament to what a stand-up person you are. So I appreciate that, Jen, tremendously. Let me say thank you to Precious Me. Oh, that's cute. Precious Me 35. Thank you for the $10 super chat. And she says, thank you for covering the story. We the people of New Hampshire appreciate you. Well, you know what? We appreciate you right back. A lot of respect and love goes out from all of us, all of the community in the Crime Time with DutyRon family. Our hearts break for every and any crime victim across the globe. No matter where it is, whatever country it is. I get stories coming out of Australia and all over the world. My heart breaks for the victims and their family because, as we know, Jen, there's real people behind this. This isn't just a story that we're reading out and talking about. There is real victims and there's real people who are affected by this, friends and family.
And Ron, I did want to say, I am relieved with that news from Brian Entin.
Yeah.
Because I'm really relieved today because I have hope again. I was losing hope based on our experience of when we see this type of breakdown. We obviously know you have to do a complete and thorough search before you can leave, especially if you have information that something happened there. And as you said, maybe it happened there, maybe something was there and it's not there anymore. But I'm relieved. So
Jen, I love that you said that because that's what I was feeling. I just couldn't get those words out for some reason. I just said it was a mixed bag of emotions. But it was all day long. I was feeling they're going to find skeletal remains. You're going to find the remains, and everyone's going to, including myself, is going to be so upset because now we have to mourn a loss. And so this gives, like you said, it's a second chance. It's a second hope for us to find her. Maybe somewhere with somebody, or the human trafficking element, the sale for drugs, that's on the table with these people. And I hate to say it, but to get money, to get their next high, to get off, they will do anything. And it's most of the times you see prostitution involved, you see sex for the money, for the drugs. But when you have a little girl that's worth money on the market. So we have to keep that in play, although that is not, high probability of a scenario here, but it gives us hope. And I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yes. Hope. Yeah. I'm leaving this stream with hope.
Yes. I want to say thank you so much to retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Yes. And I called it out. She's an Italian girl. So, but by marriage, she is now part German. So it's an honor, a pleasure to have you. And I thank you. Will you please consider coming back again with me and my co-host sometime, Ed Wallace?
Absolutely. And again, I'm honored to be on your show. And thank you. And thanks for all the questions and all those shout outs. You saw me reaching for my specs. My eyes have gotten old, so I have to put these on to see the words closer. But thank you for everyone in your audience too.
So you're so welcome. You've just been a wealth of information. I will share the actual live event with you, and then you can go back after, tomorrow or whenever you have the chance. You could see the chat and all the great positive messages. So many people love you, and they really appreciate your take on crime. It's coming from a retired FBI special agent, so it is special. Thank you, Jennifer, and I will let her go, and then I'm going to continue on with a wrap up here. Jennifer, have a good evening, and we'll see you again.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
All right, there she goes. Jennifer, that was a great 1 hour stream, and I didn't plan to go that long, but, you know, I want to say this. A retired FBI special agent in charge, she has done and seen many things and has covered many cases. I implore you to go over to her Twitter, which I will link here. Go to her social media. She has a LinkedIn page. She's got the website, but her Twitter is a chock full of information. And let me tell you, it is an honor to be able to, in my retired life, work with my federal partners. I did so much with the FBI in Manhattan, so much work with those guys and girls, and they are unbelievable. And Ed Wallace, the co-host, you know, Ed Wallace, he's a great guy. He has nothing but great things to say about the FBI, and has worked tremendously with them in his crime scene expertise, down working right alongside of them at the body farm. So this is great stuff. Ed was not able to join us tonight because he didn't get his hotel room in time. So he says that he's going to be good to go for tomorrow night. So we're going to look for a live stream tomorrow night from myself and Ed Wallace. Again, as I like to end all of these, I say thank you to the live chatters, the replay viewers, the Patreon supporters. If you're not yet subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload a video. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, I am on TikTok. Can you believe Josh, the producer, got me to get on TikTok? This big, tough, retired NYPD detective is now on TikTok. But guess what? I'm not dancing and singing. I'm sharing my crime videos and my educational videos that we put out. So go over to my TikTok, DutyRon, all one word, and I will share all of that down below in the chat. As I like to end them, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially Harmony Montgomery and her family, the ones who truly love her, the ones who are really there for her. They need us now more than ever. And we say a special prayer and a moment of silence for all victims across the globe. And we do want to say thank you for the support. Good night from New York.